Hi, Dad, it's me, Leo. There's no future for us here. We don't have one single dollar. There's a smuggler who got 10 women out of here yesterday without any problems.
Ah, now that's soothing. When you've been arguing with crazy smugglers the day before, it's perfect. Then you hear music like this, and you think, hey, up yours. It shatters any illusions you might have. Your own child would rather go join terrorists than stay with you, and even thinks it's cool.
I was young, I guess, and wanted a bit of revolution. Islam was sort of in.
This film tells the story of a father I accompanied over a period of 4 years and his daughter.
It's clear to us that she's not only some little girl who was groomed.
We laughed and fooled around. Sure, I was naive.
She's also a perpetrator.
A story of two vastly different worlds.
Get out of there as quickly as you can.
A story of life and death.
Dad, where are they? I'm waiting. Please, Dad, please.
In March 2015, Mike Messing's world was turned upside down. His daughter had suddenly disappeared without a trace. He then started receiving messages on his phone from a stranger.
I couldn't understand what he was telling me. But when I saw that tiny profile photo and clicked on it, and then saw that flag, that was like final.
His daughter Leonora was 15 years old at the time. Her parents had separated some years earlier. Mike, who runs a bakery in a small town in eastern Germany, had recently remarried. Was that the reason for Leonora's disappearance? Had she felt like a third wheel? Mike didn't know. To those around her, she had seemed like a typical teenager, interested in boys and beauty products. She had her own YouTube channel where she posted makeup tips.
Hi guys, welcome to my new video. Today I have my March beauty favorites for you. This is 07 from Essence. It looks like this. And I like it because it has a relatively natural look, so people can't immediately see that you're wearing lipstick.
Desperate for clues to help make sense of it all, Mike searched Leonora's room. He found her diary and was confronted with a parallel existence, one dominated by Islam and in which his daughter was wearing a headscarf. He found photos on her computer which showed her hidden transformation. Mike hadn't noticed a thing and blamed himself.
You keep coming back to yourself and ask why. For what? What for? Why? What for? For what?
Young girls in Germany are being systematically recruited. IS supporters are searching social media for potential targets.
The girls are often married off while they're still minors and pushed to produce new fighters. If they fall out of favour, they become slaves. So why are girls and young women from across Europe choosing to go and live in this darkness?
For an agonizing 12 days, Mike heard nothing from Leonora. Then, finally, he received a voice message. Little did the father know that soon he would be keeping his phone by his side at all times. It would become the sole source of contact with his daughter.
Hi, Dad. I'm trying to send you a voice memo. Hope it reaches you quickly. I'm doing really well. We have a really big apartment here. I decorated everything in purple, of course. We don't have couches here, but these pillows you sit on. I'm also sending you photos of the present he gave me, gold.
Leonora was talking about her wedding. Aged just 15, she married an Islamic State fighter. This is the official wedding photo. She was one of the man's 3 wives. Mike's Leo was now living in another world, in Syria, in the midst of a civil war. Her previous world had been Breitenbach, a village of 200 people in the Harz Mountains region of eastern Germany. At this point, Mike approached me, Volkmar Kabisch. I'm a journalist and already had years of on-the-ground experience covering IS and had been to Syria and Iraq often. We immediately had a good rapport. But at that first meeting in 2015, we had little idea of how often we would speak and meet over the next years. And every time we met, one big question loomed: why?
She shut us out. She left us without any opportunity to be part of her life. She was a girl who went voluntarily to Syria. Before, she wouldn't even come into this shed because of the mice. And then she heads off to a civil war where all hell is broken loose. To people who are dead serious, literally.
Kein Spaß verstehen, in keinster Weise, ne?
Hello and welcome to the Tagesschau. 2.5 years after the US withdrawal, Iraq is at risk of being plunged into chaos. From our safe distance, we might pinch ourselves as to the pace at which a few thousand jihadists are terrorizing an entire country.
Their militias are overrunning around 1/3 of Iraq and Syria and setting up a ruthless regime of terror.
After days of fighting, terrorists conquered the provincial capital, Mosul. Although their fighting strength of 10,000 men might sound small, IS is now in control of swathes of territory in Syria.
And somewhere in this self-declared caliphate was Leonora, gushing with pride over her husband, who went by the name of Nihad. Nihad Abu Yasir was born Martin Lemke and was a welder in a mine in Germany before joining IS, where he reportedly came to hold a senior position in IS intelligence. A fellow German IS recruit would later testify that instead of torturing people himself, Lemke had others do it for him. Leonora was getting acquainted with her new home, Raqqa, the capital of the IS Caliphate. She texted her dad about what she'd seen. The roundabout was right outside Leonora's home. IS used such violent images as propaganda on the internet in order to recruit new people and intimidate opponents. In the weeks after Leonora disappeared, the police were informed and visited Mike's home, where they seized his daughter's computer. But there was little they could do. Here, Mike is heading to Berlin, to a counseling center called Hayat, Arabic for Life. It was set up to help families whose children have signed up to Islamist groups. There he met dozens of families in a similarly desperate situation. The center's director, Claudia Danschke, advised parents to talk to their children about everyday things, in the hope that they'll get homesick.
It's vital that you maintain contact. The radicalizing influences there are the norm. All you can do is keep the bond alive and hope that the influence on the ground eventually starts to crack.
Also at this parents' meeting was a man who used to be in IS. He talked about his impressions and how important contact to loved ones back in Germany was.
What really helped me were those emails saying, "Remember how nice this and that used to be?" They weren't very long, but together the emails had an impact. They brought up old memories.
Tell me what Islam gives you. You can ask frank questions like that and then let your daughter speak. Don't be judgmental, just listen.
It's tough. I can genuinely understand why you got really mad. Please cut that.
Try to see what their real reason is and work on that motivation.
The crucial thing is that you realize you're not alone. You're not the only idiot in Germany whose daughter's run away.
Mike told the group that sometimes his daughter still behaved as if she were at home and not in a war zone, having fun with Sherine, her husband's first wife who was born in France.
Hi, everything's okay here. We're having a special treat today, a cheese and leek soup.
Shirine's going to visit. She loves cheese and misses it. Yes, I'm coming. French cheese. We do have cheese here, but it doesn't taste as good as in Germany.
We love you so much. Talk to you tomorrow. Sweet dreams and good night.
I love you too. So let's text somewhere tomorrow.
Leonora appeared unaware of exactly what kind of place she was now living in. Under IS in Raqqa, laws and punishment were draconian. Listening to Western music was punished with whipping. Leonora and her fellow wives managed to have their own little parties in secret. And she sent her father voice messages with German pop songs. Leonora soon began to lose faith in IS. She found her husband disgusting, IS brutal, and was unhappy to be one of 3 wives.
When you marry someone, you want to have that person for yourself. So of course, jealousy is going to come up at some point. We had the impression that her husband was overwhelmed. 3 wives. Some men might think great. But these are all people with their own needs, desires, and hopes. A 15-year-old girl doesn't have the life experience to keep a cool head to deal with the situation. After around 2 months, she seemed to realize for the first time that this wasn't everything she'd hoped for. She admitted as much and said she wanted to come home and wanted us to help her. And then it helps if you know people who know other people.
The people Mike was referring to was our team. We knew the other people, smugglers, some of whom had close ties to IS. At first, we were unsure whether journalists should get involved in such a way. But after lengthy discussions, we decided we would. But under the condition that Mike alone would take all decisions. Our team would accompany him merely as observers. A meeting was arranged in Turkey. When Mike arrived, we were already there. Smuggling people out of IS territory was extremely dangerous, especially when a woman was involved.
This is life or death, that's absolutely clear. But I have the hope that I'll be sitting in a plane today or tomorrow, and by tomorrow night I can talk to Leonora's mom and say, Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Mike met the smuggler in a hotel in southern Turkey. We kept our distance while listening in. Mike did the negotiating.
Das Treffen mit dem Abu.
I met with this Abu. He was a smartly dressed guy. He said he had links to the Nusra Front. So basically, Al-Qaeda. So Mike, from the hamlet of Breitenbach, was having a cup of tea with two guys from Al-Qaeda, and smoking around 100 cigarettes. You're incredibly tense, and you're talking through interpreters. And they're talking a lot with their hands. So it's difficult to gauge the situation. What does it mean when he does this or this? What's he saying?
The smuggler set out a complex secret operation involving 3 cars and forged documents. Mike was tempted to give them the go-ahead straight away.
Given your advice, I'll wait to make a decision. It's clear that these people are terrorists. They're terrible people. But I want my kid back. And if that means that afterwards I face prosecution for giving money to a terrorist organization, I'd be happy to go to jail, as long as my child is back home.
36 hours later, Mike was back with his family in Breitenbach.
This is what I told my loved ones back home. We're sending wolves into the lion's den in order to rescue our little lamb. It's a decision each person has to make alone, but we were all agreed. And that's why we tried it.
With that go-ahead, somewhere in Syria, a group of men set out for Raqqa. They had already smuggled people out of what was now the capital of IS. Their plan to get Leonora was potentially a matter of life or death. Because Raqqa, the heart of IS, was teeming with militias patrolling the city, seemingly at every street corner.
I asked her concretely whether she was up to it. She said in her typically casual way, "Sure, no problem."
Leonora sent her father her current location and photos of the surrounding area. If caught doing this by IS, she could be sentenced to death.
That was the plan, to pick up Leonora in a car, where she would travel with a cover family as their daughter. To be able to identify her at all, she was supposed to carry this white wallet with her at all times, so that they could see her from the street. And meanwhile, you're sitting here staring at your watch. 10 minutes gone, she hasn't been in touch. 20 minutes, still nothing.
There were repeated problems coordinating a pickup. With each failure, the danger rose.
Dad, where are they? I'm waiting, and nobody's here. Please, Dad, please.
Around a dozen such attempts failed to work out.
There was an hour or an hour and a half each day that were just crushing. Your nerves, having to get the questions right, repeating answers correctly, it was nerve-wracking. You're so wound up, it's hard to put into words.
But they decided not to give up.
She was sitting in the internet cafe, and we'd contacted Abu beforehand, and he said no. There's an IS car right in front of the cafe, and 3 dodgy-looking guys just went inside. And she said, "There's nobody from IS here. They have no idea. Everything's laid back here. Everyone here is Syrian. They always laugh when I speak German." She was so naive, not realizing how dangerous the whole thing is. And again, the arranged meeting point failed to materialize between the smugglers and Leonora. Then the smugglers did something they hadn't done before. They went directly into the cafe, wearing really conspicuous clothing, white T-shirts. And we sat there checking the time, 6:01 p.m., 6:02, 6:05, and Leo still wasn't online. We just thought, this can't be happening. Not now when this poor guy has put himself in acute danger. 1,000 thoughts go through your head. The tension is unbearable. We thought, honey, we couldn't be making it any easier for you. And at 6:40 p.m., she finally came online. That was the last thing we heard or read from her directly.
Then silence. For days, there wasn't a single word from Leonora. Instead, they heard from her husband, Nihad.
We were really afraid for Leo. And then we didn't hear anything, nothing for over a week.
Then the second wife of Martin alias Nihad got in touch. Back in Breitenbach, Mike and the rest of the family needed time before they could start believing the news. Slowly, it sank in that Leonora was dead, that she had been killed in a civil war that wasn't hers. 3 weeks after the news of her death, we visited Mike for the first time with the camera again. He told us he was trying to somehow get through the days, that he hadn't made it through a night yet without crying.
Dein Kind ist tot.
Your child is dead. And you failed. You failed to get her out of there.
Du hast es nicht geschafft, sie rauszuholen.
We're going to plant this tree. We won't be burying her, but we'll be saying farewell to our child. We'll have a place we can go, which is symbolically her last resting place. The danger that something could happen over there was ever present, but you just put it to one side. But in the back of your mind, it was always there. I wouldn't say it helps you prepare, because nobody and nothing can ever prepare you for this kind of thing. And if she really was seriously injured in this air raid and was in a coma, then I guess it was a mercy to die that way.
We took stock of the last few months, going over everything again and again. The family organized a memorial service so that everyone could say goodbye. Then, suddenly, a message arrived. But was it really her? Mike couldn't be sure, so he asked questions to which only Leonora would know the answers. What her best childhood friend's home looked like inside, the names of her grandfather's ponies. The answers were correct. Leonora was alive. Even if she was still living under a terrorist regime, Dawla Islamiyya, Arabic for Islamic State.
Anyone, whether man or woman, young or old, even slightly toying with the idea of going off to Dawla. They should be aware of what they're doing. They're making their family go through hell.
For Leonora's family, that hell continued. Every day, every week, every month, Mike was haunted by the question of how his daughter was and whether he would ever see her again. Winter 2015-2016. In Syria, people were being killed on a daily basis on all sides.
Right now, there's nothing we can do. Just wait. Unfortunately, we're getting experienced in this. Not giving up is the most important thing. Sometimes you have lows, but you have to carry on. And if you're desperate, you just have a pint with a journalist. It's the first Christmas in 16 years without Leo, and it's really strange. No words are necessary. You just look each other in the eye and it's there. And your eyes start to tear up.
Mike and his new wife took a decision. Despite all that had happened, their lives somehow had to go on in Germany. They were expecting a little girl. But Mike was permanently on edge. The constant flow of messages and news was like being on a hamster wheel that never stopped spinning. Leonora contacted him, reported that her husband Nihat now had a slave, a woman he'd bought.
So Nihat came home yesterday, sometime after midnight, and said, "So I've bought myself a slave for $800. I was like, $800 is nothing. How can somebody do that? Sell a human being? She's a Yazidi, 30 years old, and has 2 children. Subhanallah, I didn't know what to say. I feel so sorry for her. Her arms are blue. No idea, they've not treated her well at all. She's really dirty."
There are reports of mass executions, of women and girls being raped and sold into prostitution, and of children being forcibly recruited for fighting. It seems the displacement of the Yazidis is deliberate. People who are not killed or enslaved are driven out of their villages with no water or food.
Those who survived fled the terror of ISIS in 2014 to the Sinjar Mountains in the north of Iraq.
To justify the atrocities it was committing, IS had its Sharia authority draw up a list of monstrous guidelines in a question-answer format.
My first thought was, this poor woman, plus she has 2 kids, at the complete mercy of a dangerous man. How can a person change like that? The question keeps bothering me. He's grown up here and probably happily. He went to kindergarten and high school. A normal, civilized person wouldn't buy himself a slave.
I'm so shocked. I want to help her. Like, I want her to at least have a few okay days. I feel so sorry, my God.
The woman was called Lamia. She wouldn't be an issue for Leonora for very long, because soon after, this photo was used to offer her for sale back to her Yazidi family. 1 year later, in 2016, I drove to northern Iraq, IS-free territory. Lamia had found refuge in a displaced persons camp here. I'd been looking for her for months. I cautiously stepped into the room. Lamia was still severely traumatized. We communicated with the help of an interpreter. Nobody could say how many men had literally owned her. She was barely able to talk. After a while, I showed her a photo of Leonora's husband. Did he buy her? Does she remember his name? How did he treat her? We then left Lamia alone. For the entire time we were there, her children likewise barely said a word. Lamia's husband was still missing. She was living in her brother-in-law's tent. The family had to raise $24,000 to secure her release, money they didn't have. Lamia would spend another 3 years in this Kurdish tent city. Since 2019, she and her children have been living in safety in Canada, and we've been told she's doing a little better.
ISIS has lost most of its former territory in Iraq. In July, the extremists were driven out of Mosul, their stronghold, for several years. It's an offensive of major symbolic significance.
Last night, fighters began advancing on the terrorist militia's unofficial capital, Raqqa.
Air raids on Raqqa in the autumn of 2017. A short time later, Leonora left Raqqa, and IS lost control over the city. When Mike heard the news, he feared the worst for his daughter, as so often before.
You're sitting here and can't do anything. You feel completely powerless. You try to distract yourself and not think about it too much, because there's nothing you can do. You just have to accept things as they come.
Facing danger together over a long period of time had evidently brought Leonora and Nihat closer, and now she was in love. The messages were gradually driving Mike out of his mind.
This is what it's like in your head. That's what it feels like. Every day of the week, every week of every month of every year. Around the clock. It's as if you're in a madhouse. You don't want to lose your child, even though you have already lost her. You don't want to endanger the contact, so you just bear with it all the time and somehow still live your life.
Meanwhile, Leonora was carrying on with her life. She posted emojis celebrating her 3rd week of pregnancy.
The smileys in my head were not celebrating. Absolutely not. She was just still far too young. She was so young. Sure, things like that happen. Teenagers get pregnant in Germany too, but in a completely different environment.
While Leonora was still somewhere in Syria, I traveled to the liberated city of Raqqa, now little more than a wasteland of ruins and rubble. I found the apartment where she used to live. When she posted photos from Raqqa back then, I spent ages searching the internet to find out exactly which building she was in. Over there you can see the lampposts. I counted the ones on the photos and then worked out which building it was. This is an IS pass, including the original stamp, typical for Islamic State. This was what was left of the stairwell leading to her apartment. Leonora spent several months here and evidently made herself at home. While just out on the streets, people were being locked in cages, and IS was publicly torturing and murdering. Leonora and other IS devotees were now on the run and being hunted down by the international coalition led by the United States.
Trump's speech will also address the fight against terrorism. The new US president is taking a hard line. Instead of driving them out, the aim is to encircle IS fighters and to destroy the terrorist militia.
2017. She was probably somewhere in the vicinity of the Euphrates River in eastern Syria.
We'll find a way. We're not giving up, Dad. You can bet on it. Don't think I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to die here. I won't give up.
The self-styled Islamic State is losing further territory in Syria.
People in eastern Syria are currently enduring a decisive phase in the civil war.
The Islamists are believed to have retreated to the area east of the Euphrates.
While Mike continued to keep his bakery running, Leonora was trying to find a people smuggler to get her to Turkey and out of the war.
There's this smuggler who got 10 women out of here yesterday without any problems.
Okay, use that chance. Get out of there as quickly as you can. And then the day actually arrived when they said they were setting off.
Hi, Dad, it's me, Leo. I'm at the waiting point and praying to Allah that we'll see each other soon, okay? In a few minutes' time, I'll be offline.
My angel. I'm pretty anxious, but I guess it has to work out.
Dad, stay strong, don't cry.
And then there were no more messages. Maybe they really had set off. And then our smuggler of choice contacted me. And he started this horrible, really nasty, well, game is the wrong word. He said, there are loads of checkpoints. We're having to bribe so many people, so we need more money. You can write back 100 times. I haven't got any more. Then there'd be 4 or 5 hours of silence, followed by the next 5 messages. But in this awful German, translated via computer. Some of the messages were just incomprehensible. They build up this unbelievable pressure. So what can you do? You walk around in circles, going out of your mind. Not even drinking helps. You're a complete wreck because you know the next message they send could be, well, nothing good. Eventually, they had me so desperate that I said, fine, I'm actually going to have to transfer the $8,000 so that they at least stay alive. But they weren't even able to tell me where to wire it to. You realize these guys really have to be nuts. And you're just helpless. It was so tough. Those few days were worse than the 4 years before that. It's difficult to describe. In your mind, you're up on the ladder, and the noose is above you. It's just too much. It's not possible. You reach a point where you just can't take it anymore. I can't do this to anyone anymore. It's so bad that you want to give up and give yourself up because you want an end to this misery. And if I'm no longer alive, then okay. Maybe Leo will also die, but then my family will have peace. That's the point you reach. So I actually blocked the number. I just couldn't go on. I told myself I wouldn't cry today. It was, well, it was one of my darkest hours.
He severed contact, knowing Leonora might die. The mental strain for Mike and his family back home in Breitenbach had simply got too big.
The next day or the day after, I don't remember exactly, Leo contacted me. It didn't work out. We didn't even leave. Boom. How do you not just keel over?
In autumn 2018, Leonora was still on the run with her husband Nihad. With the war still raging around them, she had a second child, Maria, also born prematurely. Air raids, artillery and ground offensives had seen Islamic State reduced to Islamic Village.
Hallo Papa, ich bin's Leo. Hi Dad, it's me Leo. We're in the last village left. We're surrounded. We're on the only street that Islamic State still controls. It's over. People are living on top of each other, starving. Children are freezing to death. We're going to get out. There's no future for us here. We don't have one single dollar. And seeing as we have absolutely nothing and often have nothing to eat, we've decided to give ourselves up.
My phone went beep, 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 and I knew it meant that Radio Syria was back on the air. After 4 years, you build up your own protective armor. It was a voice message from Martin Lemke, and he didn't sound too happy.
Please talk to the government. I'm willing to do anything. I was never a soldier. I never killed anyone. I'm willing to pass on any information I have. I know there are trials in Germany, and I'm willing to help the government. It's important for us that the women and children arrive home in good health. I don't want to stay in a jail here in Syria. I have no problem going to jail in Germany and serving my sentence there. I'm really afraid. I don't want to get beaten up the whole time. I have a heart condition and picked up pneumonia here. We're all really sick.
So the same man who tried to ruin your life 4 years ago is suddenly saying, "Poor me." And your first reaction is, what on earth is that? There's got to be something else. And then you realize, wow, he's really crapping his pants. And you think, those are the moments when you say, you see, I told you so. This big secret intelligence guy is suddenly so tiny. That's how fast it can happen.
And please, don't tell anyone about this message. If someone here finds out that we want to get out, we might end up getting killed.
Take along plenty to drink, just get out of there and take care of yourself.
In early 2019, more than 40,000 people in the last enclave of IS surrendered. In Germany, all Mike could do was wait for Leonora to make it out. On January the 31st, 2019, that wait was finally over.
Hi, Dad, it's me, Leo. Just wanted to say that I've left IS. We're all really happy that we made it. Nihad was picked up by the Americans, but all fine. They've been really, really good to us.
Basically, I slept through it all. It's something you could actually wish for. You go to bed, and when you wake up, the problem's gone. It couldn't have gone any better. I got up as usual at 1:30, 1:45, and as usual checked my phone. And I saw I'd missed a whole load of calls and WhatsApp messages.
Friends had recognized the young woman in this video footage as Leonora. Agency reporters had met her in the desert.
Because I want my old life back a long time ago, and now I know that it was a big mistake, big mistake.
I was on my way to work, and then it finally went click. You go back over the last 4 years, you have an incredible amount of images going through your mind. A lot of things you'd suppressed, negative stuff too, and you cry a little bit as well, of course. And it's only then that you realize how much pressure you've been under, because it became your daily life, so you didn't really even register at all. And suddenly, you feel yourself getting lighter and lighter and free. And I got out of my car and I thought, yes, awesome, it's over. They can't torment you anymore.
Leonora was detained in this camp, a tent city outside Al-Hol in northern Syria, together with 70,000 others. A fierce debate erupted in Germany over whether the country should take back those who'd gone to join IS. Didn't they pose a threat? We returned to Syria in March 2019. It had been 4 years since Leonora had run away from home. I wanted to finally meet her. From her online chats, including the ones she last posted, you sometimes get the impression that despite how long it's been and how much older she's become, she still has this naivety about her. And you wonder how that's possible. She's now 19, and she's been through such a lot. She's been in a war, been bombed out of her home, seen all this awful violence, and is still so naive. I'm really interested to see how she is in person. While I was about to meet Leonora, Mike in Germany was looking forward to his daughter finally returning home, although he did have doubts.
I'm not really sure who I'll be welcoming home. 4 years of IS and propaganda have to have an impact. She was really young when she left. She was seduced, sure, but she was happy to be seduced. That's also part of the truth.
Leonora, a willing accomplice. Had she now realized what she had done to her family and to people in Syria, and ultimately to herself too? I wanted to know everything, including what it was that made Islamic State so appealing to her.
Islam was sort of in. A lot of people in Germany were converting to Islam, and Britain too. And I ended up in this Facebook group. I was young, I guess, and I wanted a bit of revolution. I was into extreme stuff. Maybe I was a coward, because I ran away from home and thought, this is a way to solve all my problems in one go.
She told us she had distanced herself from IS a long time ago. But how did she feel about the things she had done? Had she really thought about the past 4 years? Had she confronted her deeds?
Everything changed. The marriage wasn't the same. Life in general in Syria was not for me. I was no longer happy with my life. But there were also a lot of problems within the family there, and I just wanted to go home. And when that failed, things got worse, because I understood that I now had to live there, whether I wanted to or not. And because I tried to escape once, my own husband knew it too.
This is her husband, Nihad Abu Yasser, born Martin Lemke. German prosecutors are preparing a case against him and have issued an arrest warrant.
Hello.
When we met, it seemed he was hoping for pity. I'm Volkmar Kabisch from Germany.
It's tough here. We're under huge mental strain. I'm in a one-man cell. I don't see or hear anything.
He told us he only worked in the technical department of IS intelligence, that he never fought, never murdered or tortured anyone, nor ordered anyone to. He insisted he was merely a peripheral figure, despite having had a slave. Why did you buy a slave?
I probably shouldn't be talking without my lawyer, but I haven't done anything bad. She was in very poor health, and we helped her. But I never talked to her.
But why did you buy a human being with 2 children?
The thing is, she was doing really badly. And in Islam, you're rewarded for treating a slave well, because slaves have rights. This woman was really ill. But as I said, we helped her where we could. And I had no other intentions. I already had a big family.
You wanted to make money, buy her cheap, fatten her up, sell her for more.
Look, if you want to provoke me, no, that's not true.
No?
No, I don't need that money.
Martin bought her in order to trade her. We had money problems all the time.
So Martin bought her to make money?
Only to make some money. He said fatten her up, nurse her, have her take a shower and give her kids food. Make sure that she puts on weight, so she's worth something.
Like a fattened cow, right? Leonora's account incriminated her husband. But what about her own role? German prosecutors are looking into pressing charges against Leonora, who's now 19. Like her husband, she's suspected of having spied for Islamic State intelligence and having supported a terrorist organization. Did you ever work for their secret police or pass on information to your husband?
I heard that too. It's just ridiculous.
Whether she committed a crime will be decided in the German courts. In the eyes of her father, she needs to face up to her moral responsibility for having joined a terrorist group.
It's clear to us that she's not only some little girl who was groomed. She's just as much a perpetrator. You just have to face the reality.
By the way, on this day, 4 years ago, he saw you for the last time.
I saw a photo of him today that he sent me. He's gotten so old and thinner. All those months have taken their toll, I guess. It must have been a big emotional strain.
Leonora seemed carefree as she talked. Is she naive or traumatized? It was hard to tell. She doesn't seem to have reflected on how her family were faring. Kurdish intelligence officers then told us our time was up.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Leonora gave interviews to other reporters as well and recited passages from the Quran. It seems she gave little thought to what impression this would make on people back home in her village.
People were happy that she was alive and coming home. That changed completely with the Stern TV interview. Some really good friends said, it wouldn't be so bad if she doesn't come back now, because what we're seeing on TV isn't Leonora anymore. When one person says it, fine. But when a number of people who are really close to you, then you can imagine what people in general are thinking.
I can recite the first surah. Should I?
Soll ich machen? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين.
Mike.
Tell me about this video.
Dieses Video.
Most people will say she's fully veiled and singing Muslim songs, although it's not a song. So, she A, has learned nothing, B, doesn't belong here, and C, she's dangerous.
Perhaps it would be more prudent for Leonora to stay in a neighboring village, away from the media frenzy expected to descend on Breitenbach. And there indeed appears to be a solution. Mike and Claudia Danschke from the Berlin Counseling Center met Pastor Markus Blume, who's a friend of Mike.
Grüß dich. Das ist Claudia. Das ist Claudia. Hallo. So, jetzt kommen wir mal.
Let's take a little look around the place.
In das Grundstück rein.
Wow, that's great.
Also das Ganze ist wirklich
It's a paradise for children.
ein absolutes Paradies. Das ganze Grundstück
The land goes all the way back there and is an enclosed area. Not quite 100%, but we still have a bit of time.
The pastor knows how people in the area think, and he has experience dealing with individuals whose lives have gone through dramatic changes.
Even though Leo is the mother of 2 children, the vast majority of people in this area say she has no business here, period. It's not open for debate.
We've had a lot of returnees coming back to rural communities where everyone knows each other. Here, these cases of people who left are a huge deal because everyone knows the family. It's really a big problem because the first thing we want is for them to have contact with their families.
And to give Leonora a place where she'll feel at home and safe with her children, while still being independent. There would be enough space for them here.
This is the room where Leo could sleep. If things get urgent, we can have it ready in 1 or 2 days.
That's the vital thing, for her to have a neutral person, you, who she can confide in. There might be things she doesn't want to talk about with me, so that might help her to open up.
It's crucial that she doesn't feel she's not welcome at home and will be deported. Another solution would be to rent a vacation home for the first week in some remote little place in the region. I want to see you two somehow coming together.
Mike might then get at least some answers to the many questions that have been plaguing him. The German government still has to decide if and when Leonora may come home.
We'll see. And if she does have to go to jail, then for a reason. And we'll have to make the best out of the situation. But right now, it's like it's been for the past 4 years. We'll wait and see. She's definitely going for a beer and a schnitzel with me, like an oath of allegiance.